When iconic names are brought back to make money from nostalgia, they are rarely better than the original, and the most that can be hoped for is the new to be good on its own accord. What usually happens is disappointment, which can sometimes be so bad that one of two things happen. It can either make you appreciate the original even more, or it can put a bad taste in your mouth for anything that entity ever made. Remington has done this for a decade and a half. Is Colt following the same path?
Welcome to the Millsurf Mike channel. In this video I review the newest incarnation of the Colt King Cobra. Before getting into this particular revolver, I want to discuss the current state of Colt. Colt has been struggling for several years, toying with bankruptcy around 5 years ago. A period so bleak for the company that I bought 3 new 1911s as I wondered if I'd have the chance to much longer. Colt had relied heavily on their military contracts of AR platform rifles, with supplemental sales coming from AR 1911 civilian sales. They ceded the revolver market to Smith & Wesson and Ruger in the early 2000s. The military contract dried up and Colt was in trouble. Their authorized dealer system hasn't helped much with increasing sales to the civilian market. Many opined that Colt needed to open up their snake gun line again to become profitable, as the value of vintage snake guns skyrocketed. They did in a way when they announced they would revive the Cobra revolver in .38 Special in December 2016. This revived the name of a high-quality revolver they produced from 1950 to 1981. The original snake guns were hand-fitted, while the new revolvers are mass-produced. Although tempted to purchase one, I held out hope they would come out with the King Cobra. As I stated in my LCR video, I like the versatility of a .357 Magnum. Colt obliged and released the King Cobra early in 2019, reviving a name they produced in the late 80s and early 90s. While mine is mostly good, I'll get into the good versus bad in my review. There were some problems with the early release, including poor fitting and cylinder locking up. Dealing with Colt customer service was also a pain for those who wanted to get these problems fixed, as many times it would be 2 months before they got the revolvers back. A big headache for something that had a $900 take-home price. This almost Remington-like lack of QC made its way to the Python, where there's been a quiet recall on the early ones produced. If you're going to ask $1,200 to $1,500 for a revolver, you better make damn sure there are no problems. One last thing, I shouldn't leave out the one thing that unnecessarily angered people toward Colt. They announced they were suspending production of AR-15s for civilians. This brought praise from anti-2A, moms demand attention type groups, while enraging the pro-2A side. This is a decision I'll give Colt a soft pass on, as this isn't Bill Ruger's assault weapon ban capitulation. Colt is a business that is trying to pull itself from the clutches of bankruptcy, and their ARs aren't selling well. Much of this is Colt thinking that the pony stenciled on the receiver of an AR-15 turns it from a $600 Smith & Wesson's MP-15-2 or Ruger AR-556 quality AR into a $900 to $1,000 AR. People just aren't buying Colt ARs, as they decide to focus on reviving their snake guns, hoping people overpay for those instead. I was one of those people when the King Cobra came out last year. I have a range membership at Bullseye Trading in St. Joseph, Missouri, and saw they had just put a new King Cobra on the wall last year. I immediately purchased it, ammo, and tried it out on the range. As I mentioned before, I do not shoot revolvers well, but to my shock, I shot well with this. My only complaint was that every once in a while there would be a light primer strike, but I figured this needed some breaking in. I later took it back to compare it with my GP100, which I hadn't shot in a couple years, and realized the King Cobra has an excellent trigger. I shot well with both .38 Special and .357 Magnum. Still, the occasional light primer strike nagged at my mind. While not the target sights of the Ruger, the fixed front sight coupled with a notch in the rear made for an excellent sight picture. Fast forward a year and I get into another revolver kick. I'm doing well, hitting targets from 25 yards away, while not as accurate with the GP100. The light crisp trigger made the quarter challenge easy. Still, there was a light primer strike on a few occasions, while the GP100 and LCR went bang every time.
Another little problem I've noticed that I'll try to demonstrate here with dry fire is that unless the trigger goes all the way forward after making a shot, sometimes it'll lock everything up, preventing a quick follow-up shot, which can be very detrimental in a self-defense situation. And if you're in a self-defense situation where shit's going down, you aren't going to be making measured, controlled, resets on the trigger. So let's see if I can't make this happen here. That's exactly what I was trying to talk about. See, everything's locked up, and just not good if you need a follow-up shot. Now, I know it can happen on other revolvers, but very rarely. And I'll demonstrate this with my Ruger LCR, which is, probably the cheapest revolver I own. Well, it did a little spongy trigger there, but still didn't lock up. So that is another problem with a revolver that cost as much as my GP100 and my LCR combined.
I am 200 to 300 rounds into the new King Cobra, and this is frustrating. It doesn't happen enough for me to want to deal with the headache of Colt's customer service, but I'm to the point where I doubt I would even choose it over my LCR for a self-defense situation. I know the LCR will fire, while there are twinges of doubt with the King Cobra. This, along with the problems with the new Python, had me doubting I will purchase the latter. Colt does some good things, but they try to live off their name way too much, and most people don't have the disposable income to take that kind of risk. Please be aware where your elected officials and the groups who claim to represent you stand on the Constitution. Please consider joining the GOA, the largest no-compromise Second Amendment organization, as well as your state's organizations. If you like my content, please check out my other videos, like, share, and subscribe. Also, check out my Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and who I support on Patreon. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a great day.